Hi, we're here on Nerd to Know basis, back on Phoenix 92.5 FM, and this is show number 93. I am Mannequin Blue. Kean with his woos.
Hi.
I'm driving.
So very excited about the number 93.
Yeah, I am driving the bus this week because I never drive the bus, and I should pull my weight. So I'm Mannequin Blue, and we are here with.
Hey, it's Bryn. We're so close to that centenary episode. And of course, it's Kean.
I never thought that we'd get past 93. Woo!
Kean, you didn't introduce yourself.
Yeah, he has a fear of the number 93, so that stopped him. You didn't. You just moved over everything.
Oh, sorry. I thought you did it for me. Hi, I'm Kean, and for a good measure, woo!
This is what happens when Kean doesn't drive. He forgets to introduce himself.
Yeah, he basically just becomes Bender when he Bender in Futurama when he became human. It's just like gas leaving his body. Woo!
Oh yeah, the air escaping the fat folds.
Yeah. Woo!
Hey, Domino's gave me 2 pizzas this week. I will be that Bender pretty soon.
Yeah. Oh man. Domino's, damn you.
Do you know what though? We got in an email, because we haven't really done takeaway over any of the lockdowns. I think we've ordered like a handful of times over the last 10 months. And we got an email that was like, here's a discount for Just Eat. And then we bought like tickets to the Laughter Lounge or something for Valentine's Day, but they send you a whole package. And inside it was another discount for Just Eat.
Nice.
They're like, please buy food, please.
No one's heard of us. We don't know why.
Yeah, lockdown's
jingle
rough.
and everything. Please sponsor us, Just Eat.
Yeah, give us money.
Or at least send us more tokens.
Yeah.
More discounts, please.
We'll do plugs in exchange for discounts.
Yeah. That's how this works, right? That's how podcasting works.
Just Eat.
Yeah. I've always been led to believe that's how it's done, But yeah. Come on, Just Eat. Be a friend. Come on. Oh.
So we have been looking at the news, and it's all very, very sad and tragic and a little bit upsetting. Yeah. So we're going to try and not do that this week because lockdown's hard enough. So does anyone have any happy news?
I finished the new season of The Expanse, and it's great. I highly recommend.
That's not a happy show.
It is.
He finished it, show. which is an accomplishment, which is happy.
It's not, and the cast is great, and I highly recommend and implore people to watch the show because it's very, 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 very good.
And for anyone who's not familiar with The Expanse, what is it?
So basically, it's a sci-fi space opera, but unlike most space operas where they're galactic faring, this is pretty much local to our solar system. So like, basically, while the show has like a main kind of plot, the backdrop to it is this whole political tension between 3 groups: people living on Earth, people living on Mars, and people living in the asteroid belt, and just basically how that stuff affects the way that like the stories unfold is really, really interesting, and I highly recommend it. If you have time, I recommend reading the books, or you could even get the amazing audiobooks for them through Audible or some other audiobook service. Highly recommend them.
Oh my god, second plug, and we're only 5 minutes in.
Yeah, one of the best things. Do
you see what we can offer? We're
Audible, give us money.
Give us money or give us credits.
Also Amazon, because you can watch The Expanse on Amazon. Give us money.
Prime. Yeah, go on.
I mean, we technically are on YouTube, and you've sponsored everything on YouTube. So I mean, really, for your own sake.
And of course,
if you want to get that collection complete.
Of course, but it's really important to mention that if you are going to use Amazon Prime, you should do it on the Brave browser.
Brave browser. We're just gonna watch those royalties roll in.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, the books all use the same narrator, so there's this really nice continuity where he keeps all the character voices consistent through all the books. So highly recommend.
And also Space Mormons.
There is
I was waiting for you to drop that in.
There is Space Mormons in the first book and in the first film, like seen briefly and mentioned frequently, and then never seen or heard from again.
Oh, like real Mormons.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Mormons, plug us.
Mormons, give us money.
Come on.
Come on, you're only going to get dissed on Joe Duffy. We're open to this.
Yeah.
They get dissed on Joe Duffy?
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, this has nothing to do with The Expanse. But I remember back when Joe Duffy was, like, really in its prime, as it were. Like, you know, this entire fight breaking out where, like, someone's, like, teenage daughter was drawn into the cult and the mum phoned in. And then a representative phoned in, and then the kid's teacher, and then the kid itself. And it was just like a therapy session. And it was compelling listening.
That's crazy. I've never heard this. And, like, I was raised Mormon. And
I'll track it down if I can. I'm not sure if like RTE is like savvy enough to like, you know, store things and put them on the internet based on the RT player, RT plug us. But you know, you never know.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if it wasn't, because you know it's the RT player. I'm sure it's searchable, but I'm not sure it's there.
Well, especially if it was so long ago as well.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It was like 2010 or somewhere like that. It was a long time ago anyway.
Oh, that's
Joe
not long
Duffy,
ago
if you're
enough.
listening.
That's not long ago enough. That's too recent.
Yeah.
So The Expanse.
Yeah. Yeah. Great show. But
You recommend it. Why would you recommend the audiobooks more than the show itself?
Well,
because books over shows.
In essence, yeah. I mean, there's just more detail. Like, obviously, if you don't have time, the show is there and it's very good. And I do like, I would say that the show and the books are different enough that you can read one and watch you could read the books and watch the show and enjoy them separately. Like, in essence, they're the same, but there are some small-ish. Well, yeah, there are some small-ish differences that do make them different experiences. Like the show is kind of written in the same way that the Game of Thrones books is written, but not the same prose. Where it's like point of view characters, and that kind of like it localizes a lot more in the show. It's a lot more sprawling with how many characters are at play and on screen. Which definitely helps for kind of like trying to set the scene a bit more, because like otherwise you'd be kind of like you'd only be there's only like two or three, because the book basically the first book goes between two plots, whereas about three, maybe four at play in the first season. So,
but in the book you don't get the benefit of your man's amazing hat. Is it Thomas Jane, the detective?
No, he's one of the point of view characters.
Thomas Jane.
Yeah, he played the Punisher.
He used to be the Punisher.
Oh, he's in it. Oh, yeah. I like him.
Yeah, in the
he's the main character.
The amazingly terrible Punisher film from 2004.
I like that movie.
Yeah,
obviously it's no.
I mean, you get to see
Punisher.
John Travolta dragged around by a car.
You do,
but like
get to see,
obviously. It's
also
no Punisher Warzone, but
no.
I still liked it.
But Punisher Warzone is just utter trash. Like
the best kind of trash.
It is the best.
Pick your poison.
But like the way I put it is that like the Punisher, the Punisher is a film that they really tried to make. Like Tom Jane Punisher is a film they really tried to make a good movie, and they kind of failed at points. Whereas like Punisher Warzone, I think any idea of it being a good movie went right out the window when Dominic West chose that accent.
Okay, but speaking of Thomas Jane Punisher, please tell me that you guys have seen Dirty Laundry.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course.
What?
Dirty Laundry.
It's so good. It's so awful.
Dirty Laundry is a short film that Tom Jane made, and it's amazing.
It's really bad. You've got like Ron Perlman in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a good use of your Ron Perlman.
It's on YouTube. It's basically like this 10-minute, I think it's like 10 minutes or something. He was trying to keep the Punisher thing going. So he made this short film, and it's basically just, he's doing his laundry, and then he goes in to buy a bottle of alcohol or something, and some woman gets attacked by a bunch of guys. And so all hell breaks loose while he's doing his laundry.
Yeah. The same production company also made a bunch of other comic booky fan films. They did one for Spawn, which was ill-advised, is probably the best way to put it. And they did one for Venom, which it was kind of like a found footage type documentary thing. I wanted to like it more than I liked it, if that makes sense. They also did like the really infamous Grimdark Power Rangers thing, where it's like a gritty modern take on the original Power Rangers characters, but they're like Warzone and stuff like that. And
you can't do that. You can't do gritty with the Power Rangers. It's supposed to be
big budget
camp.
movie tried to.
Yeah, it doesn't work though.
The remake, yeah, this was way more grimdark than the remake. the remake is very like bland by comparison, I would say. Yeah, but again, like that remake is, yeah, it wasn't anything really to write home about. It was just basically another Power Rangers film. I would argue that in certain ways I preferred it to the original Power Rangers movie, but you
don't sound blown away, certainly.
No.
Well, then
I'm a man who's watched way too much Power Rangers to be happy about anything.
You just can't enjoy it anymore.
No.
Can I give a shout out to Tom Jane though, because he tried so hard to make the Punisher good. Like he gives a way too good performance in the Punisher PS2 game, if you guys remember that.
Yeah. Oh man, that game's great too. Like
I think with the Punisher movie, it was kind of a case of lots of really, really good actors.
Yeah.
Not so great script.
Well, so the thing that's really interesting is, again, going back to the myself and Keen's favorite topic, commentaries.
Hey!
Listen to the director and producer's commentary for that film, and the amount of times that the phrase "but we didn't have the budget" comes up is frightening.
But I mean, there's movies that obviously they have big ideas, but they suffer because of the budget. And then there's movies who have big ideas and a tiny budget, and they just make it work.
Yeah.
Well, like Van Helsing.
Like
Van Helsing is a classic one. Like that's a perfect example of, they had no budget for that. All the guns were made out of rubber and they kept breaking, and it just worked.
Yeah. There's something, a weird charm to Van Helsing that makes it enjoyable. It's definitely in that kind of so bad it's good camp at points.
Yeah, it's definitely campy.
Van Helsing suffers from being too early. If it came out now, it would be the launching point for a monster hunting universe.
Absolutely.
Because they've got all the...
They kind of tried to do it because there's an animated film and everything that followed up on it. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's a prequel, so it's like where he's hunting. It's where he's hunting Mr. Hyde.
Oh yeah, he's in the start of the film, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that kind of, it leaves off then where the other one starts.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's very good.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, I would watch that.
Yeah, with going back to Punisher, like I mean, there was so much, like I mean, there was so many instances of them going like, yeah, just ran out of the budget, and it's just like, yeah, sure. Like, I mean, the thing I always come back to with it that I really hated was like the really terrible upset speech that Tom Jane gives. And he's a good actor, but that dialogue at that point is just sheer drivel. Like, I don't. To be
fair though, like superhero movies, much more than now, were like the Wild West, where there was kind of no agreed upon tone on what a comic book film was, because you had like X-Men, which is successful in one way, and Spider-Man, which is successful in totally the opposite way. And like this film has Rebecca Romijn in it. There's just this entire bunch of like the Fantastic Four and all that kind of stuff. All these films that are trying to figure out what they are, and they clearly have pitched it too early, you know.
Yeah.
But I'd say what happened as well was, because the Punisher is always this kind of like R-rated type thing, and they probably weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah,
like they wanted to make it more of a wider appeal.
Well, they had to, because like again, like I mean, their budget for the film was $30 million, which in 2004 was basically like, well, it sounds like a lot of money. They were saying that the average
it does not for a movie.
the average action movie of that time would have needed at least a budget of 60 million. And they were saying that like they really just needed to get as wide a net as possible just to break even on what
John
they were doing.
Travolta probably would have cost like most of that budget on his own before you even get going.
Yeah, there's also like a lot of not insignificant CG effects in the film.
Yeah,
which definitely aid into it. And then there's also a lot of money would have been spent on the amazing fight scene with the Russian.
Oh, so good. I was waiting for that to come up.
Oh man, that fight scene still is great. Increasingly, especially as I started going back into other like lower grade films, my favorite scene is the interrogation scene
with the guy with the piercings.
No, not that
Oh
one.
no.
It's the one where he's interrogating the
the guy hanging upside down.
Yeah, and he uses an ice lolly.
Yeah, so, that's brilliant.
I didn't know it at the time, but that's actually a reference to it's actually a callback to a 1980s vigilante film called The Executioner. And it's really nice to go like, oh wow, because it's like basically the exact same scene but less graphic. But yeah, I just thought that was it's one of those things where I thought that was such a nice like little homage to throw in, because it takes a lot of nods from those kind of films.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that they had him like torturing the guy with an ice pop.
Yeah,
because the Punisher wouldn't do that.
No,
he'd just burn the guy.
He would, yeah. But yeah, again, I think it's like it's one of those things where like apparently critics didn't like it, for like hardcore fans didn't like it because it's not what Frank Castle would do. Critics didn't like it because they felt like it was too much of a tonal shift for the film. I would say like, yeah, but it's also a film where a guy's whole family got murdered, so you know I think it needed a tonal shift.
Yeah, that's to break it up a bit.
Did you guys ever see the Netflix series? I thought that was quite underrated.
I did. I liked it, but I wasn't wowed by it. I found that like by the time that it came out, I was kind of a bit burned out from Netflix's
their superhero things.
It's not even from the superhero things; it's just from the way that they do their series in general, where like it doesn't matter whether you're watching Daredevil, Jessica Jones, or I'm trying to think of
Luke Cage, Iron Fist.
No, I'm not even thinking along the lines of them, like something like Orange is the New Black or whatever, where they just do this thing where they go, we've got 12 episodes, and then they basically start off hot for 3 episodes.
Yeah,
they do nothing on episode 4 except just kind of scene setting and maybe a bit of like arc building.
Yeah,
and then they kind of hinted something happening soon in episode 5, and it would just like meander, and just you go like, oh my god, but you just
Do you know why I think that is though? Because critics when Netflix was at its height, I'm not sure if it still is now, but critics would get sent the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So they would structure their first 4 episodes to get the most positive kind of appeal in isolation, you know.
But like I'm very late to the game, and I only recently finished Orange is the New Black, and it felt like it just went on too long. Like the 7 seasons, and it shouldn't have been 7 seasons because a lot of it's filler.
Yeah, but I think once you're talking about any show that goes past 5 seasons, I mean, you have to do something real impressive in that.
Well,
in seasons beyond that to.
In fairness to them, they had great material, because obviously they have like season 1, you know, she's getting used to being in the prison, and then they deal with like the riot, and then they go to Max, and then they deal with like ISIS as well. But even
ISIS, what?
Yeah, in the last season,
they're in jail with ISIS.
Yeah, oh, not ISIS, ICE, the other one, ICE, ICE, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's okay.
They had so much to work with like ICE itself, because there's so much you could do around that whole anti-immigration thing, and they kind of just phoned it in.
Yeah. Like that, unfortunately, there's also that thing of like the writers obviously must get fatigued.
Yeah.
As hell, You know, I wouldn't be surprised if like showrunners, because like I mean you see it on shows all the time where like I mean look at, you know, I like my favorite example to go to is the dead horse that is Supernatural. You know, five great seasons provided, followed by 10 absolutely terrible seasons of a show that's people still insist to me is good, and I'm like, no, it's
Yeah, some things just go on too long.
yeah, you know, like case in point, my background. You know,
Well, that's why I hope that, like, you know, like the Star Trek is currently championing the return to the 1 episode a week format, even on streaming. And it didn't work for like The Boys on Amazon Prime, but I think it would put pressure on shows to actually make every episode meaningful in some respects.
well, this is the thing that like I really, my whole feeling on the 1 episode per week thing is like, if that's the way your show is done, great. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm not a big believer that episodes should, like, especially with streaming, I don't believe that like every show should have the same runtime. I don't believe every show should have the same season length. I just don't see the point in it. If a season needs to be 11 episodes, it needs to be 11 episodes. Great. If it needs to be 24 episodes, it needs to be 24. That's just the way it goes. I just don't, especially with the way things are going. Like no one looks at novels and goes, every novel needs to be 30 chapters, no more, no less. No one thinks like that. But as soon as it goes to film or TV, people really get in their heads what the runtime should be for things.
Yeah.
And I always questioned it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you box yourself into that, you know, if you say, okay, every season needs to have 13 episodes and every show needs to have 7 seasons or whatever, you might not have enough story to get you there. And so it's going to turn into filler. And do you really want to like make a show for the sake of it? Or do you actually want to tell a story?
Yeah. Like that's essentially it. Like, I mean, you know, when I look at every time I look at like what my favorite shows are, like of all time, there's like a really consistent theme where they went on as long as they needed to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they were done, they were done. And I feel like, and like even in some cases, some of my favorite shows ever got canceled. You know, like Deadwood, I think is still one of the best shows that's ever been committed to TV. Got canceled after 2 seasons, though. You know, like
Really? I thought that ran for a lot longer now, because I remember its
no.
appeal like was so big when it came out.
Yeah, but Deadwood was that big a show. It was that significant of a show that people thought it went on for longer. But no.
Well, why did it get cancelled if it was so big?
It got there was a bunch of reasons. One of them was the viewership on season 2 wasn't as good as season 1, and as well as that the show, because it's a period drama, was very expensive.
Okay,
yeah. That's why HBO's Carnival got cancelled, and that was amazing.
Carnival, but I mean, this is the thing. Like the the crypt of cancelled HBO shows has some amazing things in there. Like Bored to Death was an amazing premise for a show, and if you can find it, I highly recommend watching it. It's basically about a guy who he gets dumped by his girlfriend, and then he has this whole chunk of his life that he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do with it. Like he has a job, but he's kind of just meandering through it, and he's not really stimulated to do more with it. So he puts out an ad as an unlicensed private investigator, and it's amazing.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I think I got like 3 seasons before it got done, but it's very, very good.
I mean, that's a decision. I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go be a PI.
Yeah, an unlicensed PI. It's so good.
Unlicensed is the key word there.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. But yeah, like I highly, highly recommend Bored to Death. But like this is, like this is the way it goes. I mean, like, even outside of like HBO stuff, like there's there was a while there where sci-fi was just churning out great science fiction shows like Killjoys and Killjoys, The Expanse, and
Shout out to Battlestar Galactica and Lost back in the day.
Yeah. I didn't realize Lost was a sci-fi show. I thought that
Oh,
was...
big
It kind of
sci-fi,
is, yeah. There's a lot of weird
as
stuff
in, like,
that
I didn't
happens.
know it was on the Sci-Fi Network.
Oh, I
is what
see.
meant.
Right, gotcha.
Like as in the Sci-Fi Network throughout Killjoys, which is really good. Throughout Dark Matter, which has one of my favorite premises for a sci-fi show, and then they also had the first 3 seasons of The Expanse before they cancelled all 3 shows, all around the 3rd season as well. But Dark Matter opens up real quick. Dark Matter opens up where it's like 7 characters. They wake up on a spaceship. They all have amnesia, and they're just like, "What's going on?" And they spend the whole season with people going, "Hey, you screwed us over." Going, "Who the hell are you?" It's amazing. But sadly, 3 seasons. But yeah, like, it's one of those things, especially with like shows where, because people want more book adaptations to be done in it, I just would rather see the runtime. I'd rather see stuff like reflect that runtime, you know?
Well, that's where like the model of what's commissioned has changed, because there isn't much kind of, these things are generated by interest on the internet, and theoretically there isn't as much image to keep something going. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine got cancelled for a while. Like, you know, it's much more lucrative in theory to do 3 seasons of something and then get as much hype over it getting launched as it got cancelled. And 3 years would be the right amount of time to do it, you know? I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that's probably their thinking.
And then have another company buy it out for lots of money.
Yeah, that's also a major part of it. Like, so that's pretty much what happened with 9-9, I think, where it got bought out. Because
it got bought out by MSNBC.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Aren't they the SNL people as well?
I believe so.
Maybe.
Yeah, the Peacock.
Yeah, it is. It's a big Peacock.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge overlap there. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also where, like, I think the showrunners already had an established relationship with them, because with MSNBC as well, because they that's where the US office and Parks and Rec were put on as well.
US office is so good.
Parks and Rec is so good.
Yeah,
I couldn't get into Parks and Rec as much.
The first 2 seasons are real bad. That's why you couldn't get into it.
I think that's why it's a slow, painful watch.
It's so like the Parks and Rec was a problem because it took them a while to realize that the form of using the office style format just wasn't working with the characters they had created.
Yeah.
And then, like, coincidentally, when they introduced Rob Lowe's character into the show, it just suddenly gets really, really good from the end of season 2. And it's one of those things where I would say, like, the show is so heavily rewatchable that I would implore everyone to soldier through the first 2 seasons, because while it's not the most fun experience, there's so much world building done and so much explanation done that when things kick off, when Rob Lowe and Adam Scott show up, the show gets really good from there. Because it's one of those things where, like, just to, like, this is spoilers for that season, but it's just to really illustrate it. You have this character called Ron Swanson, who's a massive libertarian.
Yes, that was one of my points I was going to make, is that it has Nick Offerman, who I love, but on the other hand, it's got Aziz Ansari and Chris Pratt, who I'm not crazy about. Yeah,
I would say this is probably the best. Like, this is some of Aziz's best work, for sure. Chris obviously went on to do bigger, better things.
Yeah,
but. Like with Ron Swanson, he's like this libertarian character who really hates the government, and yet he's working as the director of a government agency.
Yeah.
And there's this great moment at the end of season 2, and there's like the kind of like cliffhanger thing that it ends on, where like you have like these 2 auditors come in, played by Adam Scott and Rob Lowe, and they basically say, like, your government has messed up royally. we have to shut the government down, and just this close-up shot on Nick Offerman smiling, and it's like, I swear to God, that's the moment where that character moment just illustrates everything of like the direction it goes in, because everything that it's been building up and setting up for the past 2 seasons suddenly just gets validated time and time and time again. So while you don't really, so like your investment in the show for the first 2 seasons absolutely gets payoff later, but you just have to sit through it. Now thankfully those seasons are bad, but the episodes are short. So
that's quite damning praise there. It's bad, but it's also short.
It's the Bernard Black style of reviewing. It's terrible, but it's quite short.
Yeah.
but it is true though. It's not very good, but it is short. So like you can kind of burn through a surprising amount of the show in not a huge amount of time. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the same could be said for the US office, in that the first couple of seasons are, well, they're not bad. They are quite slow.
Yeah.
And then as it goes, it kind of finds itself and it ramps up a bit then.
Yeah. I find that once 2 things happen that I feel that makes the show better. First of all, they exhaust themselves of the English source material.
Yes. Yeah.
And the second thing is that Jim and Pam actually get together. And once those 2 things are accomplished, the show just becomes a much more pleasant experience. I'm rewatching the US Office at the moment.
Oh, me too.
And Jim, I haven't got to the bit where Jim and Pam get together yet, and it is excruciating. Yeah. I could not imagine watching it week by week.
But even that whole will they, won't they thing, they definitely dragged it on a bit too long.
I mean,
hey, I just survived 9 series of How I Met Your Mother. You get in line.
No, I mean, they fill it out well. There's enough story to keep it going, but the whole time you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Well, that is the intended emotional reaction, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think they built it really, really well, and I'm very satisfied with it. But it means that further rewatches are pain.
Yeah. But like you have the Jim and Pam thing, which works out and it's great. But then you've got the other, when they start introducing other romances. So you've got like Dwight and Angela, and then you've got
Dwight and Angela's been going from the beginning.
Yeah, well but they have such a roller coaster of a relationship. And then like even Andy and Erin later on as well. It's like so up and down. Like you're really rooting for them, and then when they get together, you're like, "Oh no, I didn't want this. This isn't what I wanted."
Yeah. Well, it seems like the writers felt that way as well, because the way they did Andy and Erin.
Yeah, I mean, they even interviewed Ellie Kemper recently. I think it was like in the last year, because she was still riding on the Kimmy Schmidt high. And they were asking her about The Office, and she was like, "Yeah, even I didn't like that relationship."
Yeah, fair. Yeah, but I mean, look, when Andy becomes manager is when the show really tanks quality-wise. It's not his fault.
I don't know. It has its moments, and it's got some big names.
It definitely has its moments, but I would say the moments during that period are less frequent than the moments prior to that period, if that makes sense.
I don't know. I quite liked Robert California.
Oh, Robert California is great.
I'm sorry, there's a character called Robert California.
Robert California, yeah. He's played by James Spader, who is the voice of Ultron.
Oh, I have heard the clips of him calling himself a lizard man or something and all that. Yeah.
The lizard
Isn't there a period where they just go through like 5 managers super quickly, and like Catherine Tate's there as well?
Yeah, Catherine, and you know what? She's actually not terrible in it. Like I don't like
not
Catherine.
Terrible. She's great in general.
Well, see, no, but you know her from Doctor Who, whereas I would know her from the Catherine Tate show, which is painful.
Yeah,
it's dated certainly, but I think it was
it's
the cream of the crop of its time.
Which I also hate,
it was kind of, because at the time you had Little Britain, and there was another one as well, which I can't remember the name of. And
there's
then you had
the League of Gentlemen, the Mighty Boosh. There was a lot
going on, and then she jumped in with her Catherine Tate show, and it was Too Little Too Late, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like her characters though. I think they're more memorable than most of Little Britain ones.
I don't know.
They're not as mean-spirited, I would say.
Yeah.
Not compared to Little Britain though. Like I love her like kind of ginger awareness type sketch and all that kind of stuff. I think they were ahead of the game in some respects.
Yeah, but I quite liked Catherine Tate in The Office when she starts appearing, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And then they have
Kathy
Bates. Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah, but Kathy Bates can't help but be brilliant.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is; she's just so good. But yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs in that show.
Yeah. I just remember one of my favorite Robert California lines where they're saying like, it's like, there's something about the underdog achieving the impossible that really motivates the unexceptional. It's just like, oh my god.
No, I love the one where he's like getting kind of cozy with Erin, but not really. And what is it? She says something along the lines of, he told me that he's a ride that I wouldn't survive, and I believe him.
Yeah. Oh,
he's just such a good character. Like, he's a horrible, horrible, toxic person, but he's a great character to watch.
Absolutely. I remember seeing a video essay as well not too long ago where it was basically saying that like that like he's one of the few examples of a character where like his best bits are pretty much taken from the Vox Pops sections, but any interpersonal stuff that he does is way less funny than the stuff that he says directly to the camera, which is pretty accurate, to be fair. He's like the exact opposite of Packer, where Packer's hilarious because of how horrible he is.
Oh yeah, he's awful. I can't stand Packer.
Yeah, but you're not meant to.
Oh, is he the guy from Anchorman?
Funnily enough, he is playing basically the same character.
I think he can be doing that unless he's got like a brilliant show I just haven't come across. I suspect that's probably his shtick.
Yeah, I think the furthest he goes from it is in Thank You for Smoking, where basically it's like, I don't know if either of you have seen the film, but if you haven't, you have to see Thank You for Smoking. It's great. It's basically about a guy who's a lobbyist for the tobacco industry, and it's incredibly funny. It stars Aaron Eckhart, who was Two-Face.
Oh, okay, all right.
But he has these dinner meetings with it's like himself, who's a lobbyist for the tobacco industry, a woman who's the lobbyist for the alcohol industry, and then I can't remember that guy's name, who plays Todd Packer. He's the lobbyist for the gun industry.
Of course he is.
Yeah, and like they just they only have like a couple of scenes together, but it's very, very good stuff. I do recommend watching it. It's very good despite having Katie Holmes in it, is what I would say.
I don't mind her so much.
Yeah, I just find her very bland.
I preferred her in Batman to Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I was used to her, so I preferred her more.
Yeah, it was weird when that opens up and you're like, wait, why did they recast her?
Yeah, it seemed like a very unnecessary. Well, I suppose like around that time, was she still the Tom Cruise compound?
I think so. Yeah, I think it would have been a money issue.
That could have played into it as well.
Yeah.
Poor Katie.
Free Katie.
I'm sure she is free now, but
well, yeah, but are you ever truly free?
Yeah, she still has the horror. I'm sure she still has the dreams.
We don't.
She has the trauma.
Yeah.
No, we need to be sponsored.
You want to be sponsored by Scientology?
Yeah, we'll take it.
I was out of the room for 2 minutes.
Scientology, send us money.
What are we talking about?
Talking about Katie Holmes somehow.
Oh, I know people who've been hired to do voice acting stuff for Scientology, and like, I mean, I hate repeating like secondhand information, but it sounds so creepy the way they run things. Sponsor us if you like, but
send us money.
Based on the stories I've heard, it lives up to its reputation.
Sixth level Scientologist or no deal. I think it seems fair.
There's levels.
Yeah.
Dude, it's basically a pyramid scheme with religion attached.
There's so many different levels, and you only get to know like certain bits of information when you reach a certain level. And
just watch the South Park episode.
Like levels in a video game.
No, it's like again, I don't know if either of you've seen Community, but Pierce basically is a Scientologist, but they call it something else. But yeah, like,
Oh, God, yeah, that
Or
takes me back.
it's a bit like, have you watched Peep Show, right, Kane?
Once when it was airing, and I cringed into oblivion. But give me the reference anyway.
So you haven't seen the episode where Jez joins the new wellness center?
I haven't seen that episode.
Was it to impress a woman?
No, it was so spoiler alert, it's basically around the time where Mark and Sophie are getting divorced, and Jez and Sophie end up sleeping together because she's on like this mad thing where she wants to get pregnant by literally anyone. And he feels,
I did see this series, yeah,
so he feels so guilty about the fact that he slept with Mark's ex-wife behind his back that he joins the new wellness center, which is basically just Scientology.
Unreal.
It's such a good episode as well.
That is wonderful.
But I've yet to see.
How can you watch Peep Show? I just feel terrible for them in particular, and the entire human race generally whenever I watch it.
So that's the thing about it. Like, Peep Show is, everybody in it is absolute garbage. Like, everybody in one way or another. And I don't know, maybe it makes me a bit weird that when I watch it, I feel better about myself.
But it's basically like the English version of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where all the main characters are terrible.
Yeah.
But
not as annoying. The main characters I find not as annoying in Peep Show as I do in It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, but I feel like, hard as it is to believe, I feel like the Peep Show characters are worse to each other.
Oh, they are.
Sunny.
They're awful to each other. But they kind of, it's a weird thing as well in that, like, they're horrible people, but they have so much personality that they grow on you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's like, I think that's one of those things where, like, that's like one of the great things about like comedy shows is that, like, depending on what your sense of humor is, different things will appeal to you and won't. Like, I always found, like, It's Always Sunny, I just found that, like, the levels of cringe was just too much for me, even though I love the level of dark humor that was in the show.
Yeah.
But the cringiness just was too much for me to handle, so I was like, nah.
For me, like, I could never get into It's Always Sunny, and I couldn't pinpoint why, because it like, I like Danny DeVito and Charlie Day and all of those guys, and I thought they were fun, and then I remember because Austin loves It's Always Sunny, so sometimes he has it on in the background, and he was watching an episode that didn't have D in it. So I think it was one where it was like Mac and Dennis moved to the suburbs or something. So it's basically just them slowly going mad living in the suburbs. And I remember I laughed my ass off, and then I realized it was like, it's because she's not in it. Well, she's in a little bit.
But she's not in enough of it for you to hate it.
Yeah, she's not in enough of it. So I was like, okay,
what's wrong with Dee? She's the one who has to suffer.
Yeah, I just don't like her. I don't know, like, her presence offends me. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it. I find her so offensive that when she's on the show, I don't want to watch it.
You clearly haven't seen her become an ostrich.
No, I haven't.
It's funny actually, because I remember watching It's Always Sunny the first 2 years when it was airing on TV, and it starts out normal enough. Like, in the first series, they kind of don't let, like, underage people drink in the bar and that kind of stuff, and it definitely has an edge. But then, like, around series 3, it just, I don't want to say full South Park, because South Park is, like, kind of respectful of its topics from time to time, but it definitely just finds a cliff and throws itself off it repeatedly, like, in terms of, like, the sheer cringe levels.
I mean, I'd still say
I mean that in the most positive sense.
Yeah, I would still say that, like, even at the beginning of it, it still had, like, the edge it had was a very sharp edge, where, like, one of the episodes opens with the character making everyone else think that he got raped by his gym teacher. Like,
oh, that's not okay.
Yeah. And then it turns out that he was just really upset that the gym teacher didn't want to rape him. Like,
But
'cause
isn't there like there's a whole bunch of transphobic stuff as well, you know, where like one of the guys is dating a trans woman
it's the same guy, and he's so conflicted about it because
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's transphobic because he's the butt of the joke, not the transgender person.
Yeah, but isn't it
Um,
something to do with the other people in it are trying to get him to break up with her because she's trans or something?
Maybe I to be fair, I didn't get that far, so I just got as far as him like being conflicted, and that was enough for me to go like, I need to stop watching.
Yeah.
It's yeah, but actually you segued into a very good kind of point on the way we sort of look at culture in general, which is sort of like, I just came up with like when they banned the German episode of Fawlty Towers, you kind of have to ask who is the butt of the joke here.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it, I'm not like, I don't want to mean like it's the viewer's fault or whatever, but I do think that like context of a joke is important.
But again, is it punching up or punching down at the same time?
Yeah,
At the end of the day, it is the
that's fair.
it is the fragile white man who's ultimately the person they're making fun of, you know, like, and again, like at the end of the day, the main characters are all terrible. So if they promote terrible things, they can kind of get away with it because
they're terrible and they shouldn't be something to be aspired to.
Yeah, because
but there are people like with Cartman who will think that it is worth aspiring to, but you can't really control that.
but then you have things like Peep Show where yes, all the characters are absolutely terrible people, but if someone comes along and they're being, you know, racist or whatever, they're like, oh no, that's not all right.
Yeah, but that's because like they're not. Like Peep Show is very much trying to make them seem like it's trying to normalize how terrible they are by kind of like going, there's certain lines those guys won't cross, whereas It's Always Sunny was going, these guys have no lines, to the point where like I remember seeing a thing where someone was suggesting that like that Dennis is a serial killer. You know, like
and we don't know that isn't true.
Yeah,
I remember seeing an episode where he was like offering to you know, for want of a better term, he was basically offering to like rape somebody's wife. And I was like, it went on, that bit went on for a while, and like nobody in the show said anything, and I was like, they're not going to normalize this, are they? And but finally someone at the end was like, please don't rape anybody, like that's not okay.
Yeah. Well, would you expect anything less from the person who created the Dennis system?
It's the Dennis system.
Basically he created a system for like
on at 5. On at 5. We are on at 5.
Basically, he had a system for how he terribly treated women. Is the short version of it. You can check it out on YouTube.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it's
But can I allude to like an ingredient in It's Always Sunny's success? Usually in a show like this, like as you referenced this with Peep Show, Katie, you would have one character who would point out, this isn't cool, we've gone too far. And in Peep Show, that's usually Mark, isn't it? Like for all his flaws, like they all take turns.
Well,
they take turns then, but what I was alluding to is that in It's Always Sunny, when you watch it, and especially when you binge it, there is no character like that. And so all 5 of them think this is normal.
Yeah.
And you kind of, depending on your temperament, you will go on that journey. Yeah. You learn a lot about yourself by whether it's 10 minutes or 12 minutes.
It's kind of like a lesson in
wait a minute, hang on.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lesson in how dangerous echo chambers are.
That's like a really good point.
Yes, that is a good way of putting it. Yeah.
You know, like,
and I think that is intentional on the creator's part.
Right. And especially because, like, I mean, like one of the things I'm aware of as well is that they had like a secondary character who basically could have been that voice of reason, and then they corrupted him so badly he became a homeless junkie.
The priest guy. Yeah. Oh God.
You know. Like
but
that's
that
It's
one
Always
still haunts me.
You know, like I mean, even comparing it to other kind of like darker, raunchier kind of comedies, like the likes of South Park, they always had like a voice of reason, which would which started off being either Stan or Kyle, but eventually just became Butters, who is the bastion of all that is good and true in this world.
Unless he's Professor Chaos.
Unless he's Professor Chaos, but
especially when he's Professor Chaos. Thing evil is
Yeah. But his
Switching
idea of
mustard with ketchup.
changing orders around slightly.
Leaving the hose running.
Ah.
Like even in the episode where he becomes a pimp, it's the most heartwarming story of.
Do you know what I am saying?
Yeah. Yes, I do know what you were saying. I saw a screenshot where someone had his whole spiel as a Tinder ad. It's just a photo of Butters, just saying, "Hey, do you want to earn some real effing money?" It's so good.
I hope that person got all the swipes.
I hope so too. Yeah, I really hope it wasn't a Photoshop as well.
No, you actually, you get profiles like that on Tinder, and it's usually people who are so disillusioned with the app that they just go mental with it. Like I remember I came across a profile and it was Buffalo Bill.
Oh God!
Like it was Buffalo Bill, and the whole spiel was like, I have a dog named Precious. She's my world, and all this. I love, good skin. I hate dry skin. All this kind of thing. And I was like,
"Would you date me? I'd date me."
Yeah, it was, and I was kind of like,
swipe me.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of want to swipe this just to see, but also I'm terrified of actually swiping.
Yeah, fair. Oh man.
I mean, really, I don't want to say it's your fault if something happens, but there's ample amount of warning.
Yeah. We don't want to victim blame, but people should know what they're getting into.
Yeah, well, it's very much a case of like.
Look, if it says "don't feed the bears," man, you don't feed the bears.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's just like an indictment of like.
Have we hit our Simpsons quota for this episode?
We don't have a Simpsons quota anymore. We've broken the buffer.
Good to know.
We're basically like the supply of donuts for Homer.
So you like donuts, eh?
I don't understand. Dara went mad in 10 references.
Oh, my sweet
Which
Lord.
is not here tonight.
Yeah. May he rest.
Yes, may he rest in the truest sense.
See,
just a disclaimer, everybody. Dara is still alive.
Yeah.
He's just resting.
Yeah. On a serious note, Dara, please get some sleep. For the love of God. I know it's 5 o'clock on a Saturday, but for the love of God, get some sleep.
Because if you haven't slept by now, we'll know.
Yeah.
Because we're talking from the past.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to our 2 resident Japanese experts who couldn't be here today.
Neither of which are in Japan, by the way. They're just.
Nor are they Japanese.
Yes. Our cultural ambassadors to Japan.
Yeah, well, I think that's just the culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're a very diverse
So well done,
here.
guys. That was a fantastic amount of nothing we spoke in that hour.
It really was. I'm very pleased with it. I think it's the best nothing hour we've produced thus far.
Well, don't blame us though. Blame the news that came out this week, which was all very awful, and we were just having none of it.
Yeah. And we could have we could have
talked about the MCU with this big news this week, and instead it's always sunny all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you don't need me going on another
news, not here.
Yeah.
But you don't need me going on another WandaVision rant.
Yeah. And we could have.
That's true. We need to pace those, certainly.
We could have just done gone through episode retrospective on season 8, which we still haven't finished.
I feel at this point I would have to go back and watch it again just to do a retrospective.
We're
this Simpsons reference barrel's getting a bit low. Open up the MCU barrel next to the Star Wars barrel,
next to the South Park barrel, next to the Family Guy barrel.
We run our podcast on a barrel system. I don't know what system what other guys use, but here we are.
Yeah.
As long as it's not the Dennis system, we're happy.
We run it on a barrel system, and we're always scraping the bottom.
Yep. Unless it's Simpsons references, and then we're just constantly replenishing it. It never ends. The Simpsons.
Well, Lisa
reference.
needs those braces.
She does, for the dental plan. For the dental plan.
Dental plan.
Lisa needs braces.
Oh. I honestly have massive respect for anyone who actually listens to this show.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it.
It's like It's Always Sunny. There is a degree of fortitude.
Yeah.
Especially when we have like an actual relevant topic in our banner headline if you're watching on Spotify, and instead you have to wade through 50 minutes of this one book that Dara read about Star Wars like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm no better, but he's not here, so I'm punching downwards.
Well, I mean, even we need filler episodes, right?
Yeah. It's like I feel like we're doing filler episodes in the same way Dragon Ball Z did filler episodes, rather than how like Netflix did filler episodes. So,
Well, I mean, the filler ones were the best in Dragon Ball Z. I mean, that's how you get like Egyptian cat gods and things.
That's the joke.
I will hear nothing bad about the Egyptian cat gods.
Oh, I mean nothing bad. I'm saying that without filler, we wouldn't have them.
We also wouldn't have Excalibur from Soul Eater.
Yeah.
Excalibur.
Oh, excellent stuff. So anyway, I think that probably will do for time.
That's a damn lie, and you know it.
Anywho, said the Annie Owl.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh my god. What are we going to do when news starts happening again?
Panic.
Yeah.
Panic.
We're going to be like,
What,
oh,
every week?
Dara, hold my hand.
Yeah. It's going to be so hard to cover the news when the news comes back. We have so much BS to cover from the recesses of our brain.
Yeah.
To be fair, in our Christmas episode, I did try and steer us to the Marvel things, and we ended up talking about like secondary school science and like loads of weird random
Oh
stuff.
yeah, Mr. Magnesium in the corner here.
That's it, yeah.
That'll teach you to try and stay on top of key.
That'll teach you to try and be relevant with the kids.
I've learned my lesson.
There's going to be no book
Me, the
learning.
war's over.
No book learning around these parts. That's a fact.
Oh, good times.
Good
No, it's
memories.
not.
No precious
Oh my
memories
God.
then for Christmas. Oh Lord. So yeah. Anyway,
So, would you recommend The Expanse, just to get back to what we were talking about?
yeah, wholeheartedly in every shape and form. Watch the show, read the books, do all that stuff.
Hey, Expanse, give us money.
Yeah. Amazon Prime money. Brave
You're
Browser,
probably
money.
done by now, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you got money.
Yeah.
Streaming
Lots
is
of money.
forever.
But yeah, there's only like one season left of that show anyway, so get it while you can, because it won't be here for.
It'll only be up on streaming forever,
Yeah, it'll only be up on
which
Amazon.
I find
until-
weird culturally now.
That's not always a given, though. I mean, Netflix takes shows down all the time.
Yeah,
Does it? Like
yeah,
what?
all the time. Well, like
didn't know this.
shows they own though.
Yeah, well, even shows they don't own as well. Like they have this weird thing of kind of, and sometimes they'll take a show down and then a few years later they put it back up. It's really odd.
Well, for stuff they don't own,
So
that's
kind of
'cause licensing.
artificial
Well,
originality, like.
Yeah, well, no, for
Yeah.
for shows they don't own, that's just licensing, because it's probably going to another streaming service. But for their own, I don't know if they do it with their own.
Yeah,
stuff. I'm not-
isn't Disney Plus getting another streaming service now? Did I read
It
that?
is,
Yeah, Star.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Star or something.
It's gonna
like
be
that.
basically all the Fox stuff.
Yeah,
is
it's
what it is.
it's basically like 18 plus.
So
or something.
basically,
It's the end.
okay.
They're not safe for
I was
work.
wondering how they're going to get around that with Deadpool
Yeah,
and
well,
everything.
I mean, I remember hearing the ad on the radio or something, and it was like, Disney 18 plus, and I was like, oh, Disney's getting porns.
Yeah. Yeah. Only our
They-
listeners
yeah.
at 5
5
p.m.
o'clock. 5 o'clock.
Only our listeners at 5 o'clock.
I
could be
feel
so
like the
happy to hear
designated
this.
driver in this show.
And I'm supposed to be driving the bus. We're going straight off a cliff.
Yeah, straight towards Smutsville.
You just
Down
edit
there,
me out
it's
of the
always
whole
sunny.
episode. It's fine.
Oh, good luck to you, Dara.
Yeah, sorry, Dara.
Yeah.
You thought you were
Never
getting
let me
sleep?
drive again.
Mm.
Now we know.
And knowing's half the battle.
Oh.
Well, since we're talking about nothing, Katie, do you
Yeah.
want to plug your business?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Hey, we've covered all the nothing. Do you want to talk about something?
I mean, why not? If so far Audible hasn't sponsored us, so we might as well support ourselves.
Since we're talking about things that don't matter, hey, Katie, how's your new business going?
To finally talk about something that does matter.
Look, it's all uphill from here. I've
Yeah.
given you a gift.
Gotta get that free advertising.
Yeah. Sponsor the show, Katie.
Yeah, I'll send you all t-shirts. Yeah, basically Acutely Morbid is still happening. I just put up a big dice drop this week, so unfortunately we are talking from back in time, so if there's none left by 5 o'clock Saturday, I apologize, but I will be making more. But that's still happening, so you can follow that on Facebook and Instagram at Acutely Morbid, and acutely is spelt with 2 C's because I can't spell.
Nice.
So what's going on with you guys?
Wonderful.
Childcare is going
Clearly
Childcare.
not
on. So
ever again.
yeah. Oh god. Yeah, like childcare.
What kind of stuff can we find at Acutely Morbid?
What kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So it's a mix of everything. It's like jewelry, trinkets, dice, boxes, arty stuff, costumey stuff is coming, and also I have a Teespring as well, but that you can get all of that on the website, which is acutelymorbid.shop.
Oh.
So yeah, buy my
Okay,
stuff, please.
very nice.
Give me money. Shop small, shop local, support artists,
All that good stuff.
all the good stuff.
So, Keen, do you have anything to plug for yourself?
No, not at the moment, unfortunately. Just keep checking out my WandaVision write-ups. I noticed other people at Geek Ireland are also getting in on the conspiracy game. So, like, if you've got a theory or want to hear a theory, there's plenty up there. I didn't talk about it this week because I know it kind of dominated last week. But yeah, that's where you can find my stuff currently. And thank you in advance for checking it out.
Awesome. Yeah, unfortunately, I have nothing myself because when I'm not doing childcare, I am working on D&D projects for my group. So it hasn't left a huge amount of time to do anything else because unfortunately, a lot of the D&D stuff I do now has a lot of homebrew, which is super fun, but super time consuming. So yeah.
Hooray for hobbies.
It is. It's great to have hobbies. It's nice to spend time with friends, even if it is over a Zoom screen. But
Yeah, that's a surprisingly wholesome note to wrap on.
Yeah.
Considering where we've been this week.
That's kind of my brand, surprisingly wholesome.
See, acutely morbid and surprisingly wholesome together at last.
Oh, sweet Lord. Yeah, so look, what do you call it? Nerd to know basis nerd to know media.com. There's the YouTubes and the Twitches and all that, the streaming stuff. You can listen to us there. Spotify, that's one.
All the stuff Dara runs.
Yeah. And we all say we're gonna help, but we do our best, which might not be much. But,
yeah, you don't want to find out what your best is. That's kind of a worrying journey.
That's the Dylan Moran thing, isn't it? He said it's like don't reach your potential. It's scary.
You'll mess it up. Leave it.
You'll mess it up. Yeah. Aim low and you'll never be disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that sounds acutely morbid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on brand.
Yeah. Well, there's like, you know, there's the optimist view of things is like, you know, shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars. The pessimist says shoot for the moon and you die in the vacuum of space. So like,
Well, you've watched The Expanse, you'd know.
yeah, you know, well, it's also like, you know, science says that too. Like, it's not just like in a fictional space that's true.
Science.
I mean, if science says it, it must be true.
You would think so. You would hope so. You know, but I mean, if science gets something wrong, that just changes its mind. So that's good at least.
Just
You know?
picturing that crash dummy in the lab coat that just says sconce.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got
you know,
that. Have you seen our like kind of Dara did a really good like image thing for our YouTube video for our GameStop stonks episode?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, stonks.
Is that
Yeah.
still going, by the way? Is that story still running? I haven't been able to check in.
I think it's still going, but it's not in the headlines anymore.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
I mean, like when we covered it last, GameStop was over the 300. Was over the $300 mark. Now it's over the $50 mark. So it has dropped quite a bit.
But I don't think you can even get GameStop stocks anymore. So people are moving on to other companies.
Well, yeah. So like the thing,
who?
I can't think off the top of my head.
AMC was one for a while.
AMC, yeah.
Nokia was one for a while.
It still exists.
It does, yeah,
Mhm.
it does, yeah. I mean,
Plug us, Nokia.
yeah. Like the thing was that like there was a bunch of platforms like Trading 212 and Robinhood, which is what a lot of like the people who bought GameStop stocks were buying on,
Mhm.
and then those platforms then just stopped allowing you to buy those stocks, and then they've been basically doing the same thing for every other kind of I guess what you call it, a nostalgia property. So like as soon as they hit a certain threshold, they go like, no, you can't buy any more of this, and then that's that. You know, which is, you know, it's a bit weird.
It's very elitist.
Well, it's disingenuous, like.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's
say
both.
the least.
It's both those things. Like, it really like lends credence to a great Twitter exchange where it was like, what's trashy for a poor person to do, but totally okay for a rich person to do, and someone said manipulate the stock market.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we probably don't have enough time to get into it again, but like, yeah, it has been revealing how there are kind of gatekeepers in organizations like this, you know, but it's built on the myth that anyone can do it, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it if they're rich.
No. Well, yeah. Like, I mean, you know, if you want to do it, you have to work for a rich person. Is basically the way that like.
I mean, you can't get rich unless you're rich, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
What do you think? You're crazy?
Yeah. What, are you stupid? You know. But it's, you know, I mean, this is like, I mean, this isn't something people should be too shocked about. It's basically, I mean, this is like a thing that has happened historically with anything where someone has accrued wealth doing something, and then someone else tries to do it, and then they just go, no, you can't do it for arbitrary reason, whatever. That's like a story that's gone on since the dawn of time. So shouldn't be like, it doesn't make it okay, but you shouldn't be shocked to hear it when it happens, because this isn't the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last. It's just going to be very interesting to see how many more times people find ways to screw around with the markets now that they know they can totally do it, and it's not that hard.
Bear in mind, everyone is bored.
Yeah.
That could be a surprising incentive.
Well, everyone is bored, but also angry.
Yes. It's a dangerous time to kind of pour fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
And it, like, you know, at the moment they have camped things down, and I think, you know, it's only gonna be a matter of time before they do it again to another company. But like, because it's kind of like, this is the way things go, especially as like finances moves way more into financial technology side of things. it's going to happen more and more. Like, you know, companies for a while were super concerned with ransomware. But as stories of ransomware have decreased, they're less and less concerned about it. So it's only going to just take someone picking the right time to deploy ransomware again before people go, oh my god, we have to pay attention to ransomware again. You know, but it's going to be this is just kind of the way that, like, you know, I don't even want to say it's criminal activity at this point. It's like just like the activity of like getting vulnerability, of exploiting vulnerabilities from people. It's only like they go in peaks and troughs, and you know, someone finds a clever way to deal with it, and then it gets like patched or fixed or whatever, and then someone finds another clever way to screw with it again. Just a function of life at this point, really.
Well, thank God you're here to explain it to me, because, like, I mean, I've seen so many people bring emotion to this story that it kind of becomes hard to deconstruct, you know, especially in terms of the ramifications.
Yeah, well, I mean, the emotion behind it is understandable. You know, like, people are annoyed for a lot of different reasons. You know.
Oh yeah, of course.
And like, you know, like it's one of those things where like I can absolutely understand why, you know, someone who's been doing market trades for, you know, 50-60 years is really annoyed by what's happening, because like it's basically, you know, like it would be the equivalent to amateur players of rugby affecting the score in a Six Nations match. It just shouldn't happen, but it did, you know. So I can get why they will be angry. I would still kind of go like, well, you know, it is public money, it's publicly traded companies, people should be able to do whatever they want with their money. And especially I think one of the things that's really interesting as well is that, like, in the States, they've basically already said that money is speech. So if you're preventing people from investing companies that they, you know, like, no one talks about motive, about, like, no one says, well, like, if someone's like ironically investing in money, it's like it shows up the same way as intentionally investing in something does. There's no marker for intention. So how can they prove that someone ironically or cynically invested in GameStop? They could have just gone, well, I believe in this now. For why? Well, the market said I should believe in it, so I did. Like, that shows up the same as someone going, I'm going to screw over this investment banker. Like, you know, they show up the same. Like, you can't prove a negative. Like, it's, you know, you can't prove a negative intention in that way unless you can get screenshots or something. But,
yeah, and I mean, it's the same with anything. Like, if there's a system in place, somebody is going to take advantage of it, and you can't punish everyone for the actions of a few.
Yeah, but even if you can prove that, like, they're like, you know, like, even if you can prove that, like, there was a significant amount of people, like, I mean, you know, if you said that like 100% of people who bought GameStop shares did this cynically, it's like, cool. Can you prove that though? Because like, even if there's like, and I would say like, yeah, the percentage is probably very high of people who did it cynically, but you have to prove that. Like, that's not just something you can kind of, if you go like, sure, well, this came from Reddit, it's like, cool. How many people can you prove have Reddit accounts? Well, we can't, because privacy reasons. But then you can't prove dick is basically what that comes to, you know, like. And, you know, especially because like America does believe that like spending money is speech. It's basically going against freedom of speech laws, which is also super interesting.
Yeah, and like, surely, because I only have a surface level understanding, but surely gambling kind of against GameStop failing is in and of itself cynical in a different way. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, they don't see it that way. It's kind of like, I mean,
well, of course they wouldn't.
Like, yeah, but like, you know, like they would see it as like being like a function of trying to keep the market regulated, like getting it regulated with only like active companies being present in the market, so that you wouldn't have these companies that are slowly dying. This is a way to quickly kill them.
Capitalism.
This isn't even capitalism, though. This is just like the way that like the Western world has implemented capitalism. You know, like, I mean, you could absolutely have a version of capitalism where this isn't allowed to happen. You know, it's just that we have a version of capitalism where it totally is allowed to happen. You know, because like they're basically saying like, well, we're making things better for the market because instead of a company slowly dying, we're killing it. And it's like, okay, well, but businesses aren't, you know, like aren't injured racehorses, or, you know, something where you can argue it's more of a humane thing to do. What you're really doing is putting hundreds, if not million, what you're doing is putting hundreds of millions of people out of work because you want to make money. And you can say it's for the good of the market. And I would say, well, yeah, but the market isn't paying rent to these people. So, you know.
Also, the market is like, you're getting into kind of abstract theoreticals and things. Like, you know, like I'm reading a book on, I mean, like, I'm reading a book on like the history of like the way kind of countries like worths is measured. And like this was kind of basically brought in kind of post Second World War as a way of kind of just measuring where countries were in the fallout of, you know, war. And we're still using it, and it's kind of manipulated it into its own thing. Where it's like now we're perceiving value that doesn't actually exist and all that kind of stuff. Like,
well, this is also something that has, like, on the scale that we're doing it, it's never been done before. But like this kind of valuation of stuff has happened before. It's just like, but we're just doing it at like a hyper technocratic level now. But I mean, like from an anthropological perspective, like there's plenty of examples of like places going, well, you know, we value your cows at this much, so we'll give you 14 chickens because we think our 14 chickens are better, are equal value to your 3 cows, you know, like. And that's like an obviously arbitrary way of looking at it, but they're kind of going, well, you know, your country or your company is doing X, so we think that Y is worth as much. You know, we'll buy this amount of dollars for it. Like, I mean, you know, like, I mean, money at this point has gotten to a point where like everyone has pretty much said like it's not real. It's like, yeah, but like money has almost never been real. Like, I mean, even from a historical perspective, I mean, the most reliable forms of it have always been backed against a standard, but that's, you know, but that's not something we're doing. But this isn't even the first time that we're seeing that this isn't even the first time that we're using a system where like there's a level of arbitration in how the value of, like, you know, from currency X to currency Y is valued. It's one of these things that's happened several times, and usually gets corrected out because the main reason why it exists is to de-escalate violence, because, you know, it's very easy to do bartering with your friend. It's super hard to barter with your enemy, you know, and that's ultimately where it comes down to.
Oh, wow. This took a turn from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of David Graeber, who's a great anthropologist, and also an anarchist, by the way.
David Graeber.
Yeah.
Funny.
just like pop that in there.
Yeah. Go on, Dave. You're a good man. I know you don't have much money, but that's fine. Just come on the show. Oh,
yeah,
God.
but we should, for Dara's sake, we should probably wrap things up.
We should. Yeah. I'm like, this is probably like a bonus section, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
this is for YouTube.
Yeah. Possibly just for Dara, you know. So hi, Dara. You're our number one fan. If this doesn't make it to the cut, I'm totally fine with that.
And if you're listening at home, you can contact us. By the way, we do love getting messages from people and all that kind of stuff. Like, please let us know what you want us to talk about based on this episode.
Yeah,
feedback is important,
and nothing else. Just this episode. Oh man!
I mean, it does affect us. Like, I mean, usually we'd have at least 3 anime shows talked about by now.
Yeah. But I mean, like, we just jump for helicopter on episodes like this. So, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, they end up being the most fun for what it's worth.
Yeah, I find that like it's like the best combinations are either when you're super tired or slightly sauced. Help you.
Well, there's 2 kind of dads of young kids here, and I don't know what you're. Well, I suppose you're running a business, Katie, so you can feel the energy off that.
Running a business and an undiagnosed illness. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
Undiagnosed illnesses are the best.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're so much fun.
That's the Dylan Moran potential.
It's the question of what is it that keeps you going.
Will I find out today? Tune in next week.
Will you find out ever? Tune in always.
Don't do that to me. But yes, not that I am comparing, starting a business to raising a child, but I think we are all quite tired this week. Yeah.
Well, they require constant attention and cost money ultimately, so
they do. And if you don't feed them, they die.
There you go.
But that's true for everyone.
Both involve lots of arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Creative thinking, yes.
There you go, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crying, lots of crying.
Lots of crying.
So much crying.
Weird sleep patterns.
Yeah.
So that'll do it from us, I think, guys.
We almost, before we started going into this, we were almost ending on a bright note.
Yeah.
I had to bring up GameStop.
That was about 4 endings ago, I think.
Yeah. Derek can just pick his favorite ending at this point.
Yeah, this is going to be a choose your way episode. We're not sure quite how Spotify is going to figure it out, but I'm sure Darren knows how to do that. What
we've done here is we've done the Lord of the Rings Return of the King of podcast endings.
With every ending. Like, from 20 minutes in, it's like, God, it's still ending. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we're on to GameStop now.
Yeah. The best thing
are the gang bringing down Wall Street? What's happening?
Yeah. The best thing is that he's gonna have the file in front of him, so he's gonna go, oh my God, this is so long, and he's gonna get about an hour into it and see that we're trying to wrap up the show. He's gonna go, what happens here?
We didn't have Dara just yelling stop, because he does that. He's just like, okay, we're gonna cut it here.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
He does say, okay, so we're gonna finish up on Phoenix now, so join us for
this
that's
bonus
true
thing. Yeah. Okay, that is true.
Yeah, but no, that didn't happen here.
That was my fault, though. I asked us to start late from our point
no,
of
but
view.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but I think it's me driving the bus as well, and I'm not stern enough to be like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. It's also that like driving the bus, you have to stop it at some point.
Oh, you putting this on Katie here?
It's my job to stop it.
Well, when you're driving the bus, it typically is your job to stop it. But I think we've all been kind of like, I think it's fair to say that, like, I stuck a watermelon underneath it, like Ralph Wagon tends to do.
It burns, I can't see.
Yeah. Then Kim tried to drive the bus, and then I got another watermelon stuck. And then,
my eyes, I'm not supposed to get watermelon in them.
And then I started driving the bus, and then both of you got your revenge by putting watermelon, and then here we are.
All right. Well then I'm going to stop it then. We're just going to stop. Okay.
Yeah.
So for all of you listening who have stayed with us for this long, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nerd to Know Basis. Join us again next week to see what wacky adventures we get into.
I sure hope it's going to be as timely an episode as this one was.
And if you don't see us next week, it's because Dara cut us from the listing.
Yeah, we had good hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut us.
Yeah, it's going to be Dara and Thrawn from now on, and nothing else.
Those crazy kids, Dara and Thrawn.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Bye.
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 Until next time, hopefully, come back. You come back.